KLRN programming is made possible in part by Sanford Children's.
Good evening and welcome to this month's edition of the School Zone. I'm your host, Jeff Little. Tonight on this special edition of the School Zone, we will take a look at some of the festivities held in conjunction with the 100th birthday of Washington High School. Washington High School opened its doors on February 14th, 1908. Saturday, February 9th, was a special day in the life of Washington High School. Alumni Hall at the Washington Pavilion of Arts and Sciences offered an open house, especially to the alumni of Washington High School, which was housed at the pavilion site until the new Washington High School was built in 1992. The Washington High School Historical Committee has preserved some of the past of the former Washington High School in downtown Sioux Falls. Artifacts, annuals, sports memorabilia, and trophies are on display. Also lining the hallway leading to the Alumni Hall is a series of photographs depicting life at Washington High School. Also located in Alumni Hall is a classroom exhibit depicting a typical classroom at the old high school. Many former students and former faculty members signed the chalkboard in commemoration of this day. One of the committee members who has done a lot of work in preserving the history of Washington is Ken Kessinger. We asked Ken to tell us more about the displays.
Well, I'm Ken Kessinger. I'm the chairman of the Washington High School Historic Committee here at the Pavilion. We have a committee of 12 people. 6 of them are former teachers, and then others are former Washington High grads. It's our job to save the heritage of old Washington High with all these trophy cases and all the memorabilia in them. We've been working at this since 1999, somewhere through there, and we had a struggle trying to get these trophy cases put together, but we got it done and had a lot of financial support to do that. So now our job is run tours like this and help with any kind of celebrations that Washington High has. And we encourage all the alumni to come and visit the Alumni Hall and just walk down memory lane as you go through here. I wish someone would push that button over there and play our school song. So.
Now, are these the trophy cases that were down on the first floor?
They were down on the first floor down there by the offices. And when they, well, there goes our song. When they took the building down, they were going to destroy these, and we found the all-school reunion committee found out about it and said, no, we're going to save them. So John Parker and Transfer Company decided we'll store them for you. They were stored for about 7 years, and then when the building was built, they said, we're going to have an alumni hall, and they made these recesses right here just for these trophy cases. And it certainly adds to the beauty of this building, and it's a great trip for the alumni when they come to see it.
One of the displays Ken is very proud of is the War Memorial. This memorial includes the names of many former Washington students who have given their lives in service for their country. After the open house at the Pavilion, people were invited to the current Washington High School for a program in the auditorium. Principal Jamie Nold, Superintendent Dr. Pam Homan, Mayor Dave Munson, and former Principal Bob Caselli shared their memories of Washington High School.
Current and former Washington High School students, staff, and distinguished guests, please rise and join our pep band and cheerleaders in the playing of the Washington High School song.
like to welcome you to Washington High School. My name is Jamie Nold. It's my privilege to be the principal here at Washington High School. There is a storied tradition here at Washington High School. Many of you know that well, or much better than myself. With 39,000 graduates going through Washington High School, it is truly an honor to be part of this school and part of this heritage. It's been very fun and interesting the last few months here as we've put together to try to have some celebrations, and probably most of those are student celebrations that have gone on the last week and a half here, culminating this next coming Wednesday with a student assembly. With a student assembly the size of Washington High School with over 2,000 students, it's very interesting packing all those students into the gym, but yet it's also fun, and it's a great way to celebrate 100 years of Washington High School. So there is so much legacy, so much of tradition, and so many things that have gone here at Washington High School. And I thank you for coming out. I know the turnout over at the pavilion was very good, and the individuals that went through on the tours there to see some of the history of Washington High School. It is no longer two separate schools. It is one school of Washington High School, just in two separate buildings that had occurred during that time. We had a little bit of a debate as we've gone through the committees of when Washington High School actually was Washington High School. Many of you know that was Sioux Falls Central High School for many years. In 1908, February 14th of 1908, they officially opened the doors of the brand new building, but because of some board debates, it didn't officially become named Washington High School until that summer. But it was Washington High School, that new building, and transitioned over to this building in 1992. So we welcome you here. There are many people that I would like to thank in appreciation for the things that they have done for these upcoming weeks and the culmination of the activities this coming Wednesday with the students. A couple of former principals that have helped greatly with the different things that have gone on here. Carla Midland, who is here with us today. Carla Midland would rise. Thank you. There's been several things that we've met on committee-wise, and Carla was a principal here from 1996 to 2003. Another individual that helped us greatly to be able to put together some of these days and the events that led up to is Jan Nicolai. Jan was the principal, and Jan is here with us. Jan was the last principal at the Washington High School downtown. Now, I don't say old Washington High School. I've corrected myself, and I've learned quickly the former Washington High School downtown. And Jan also came over to open up the new building here at this current Washington High School site. So we thank both those two for helping us out through these different events. As we've gone through and looked at some of the history of Washington High School, one of the things that stood out, we had looked for one of the older graduates of Washington High School, the oldest graduate of Washington High School. We were hoping she would maybe be able to be with us today, but due to health and due to some different circumstances would not be able to. Donna Oberlander is 108 years old, and she stays at the Prince of Peace here in Sioux Falls. She graduated in 1917. Now, I was going to recognize her unless there was someone in the crowd that was older than her and had graduated earlier. So if that person has, then forget everything I've said, and I apologize, and I will notice them instead. But Donna had graduated in 1917, and we were hoping to maybe possibly have a few words with her with our student gathering on Wednesdays.
At this time, I would like to introduce the superintendent of the Sioux Falls Public Schools, Dr. Pam Holman. Dr. Holman grew up in Sioux Falls and is a graduate of Washington High School. Dr. Holman went on to get many degrees, culminating in a doctorate in educational administration in preparation for her current position as the superintendent. She attended Augustana College, where she earned her bachelor's and master's degree. Dr. Holman later returned to school, this time at the University of South Dakota, where she earned her doctorate and specialist degrees. At this time, I would like to welcome Dr. Pam Holman to the podium.
Jamie, I have to tell you, there is one more principal in this room who happened to be my principal, so he could probably tell you stories that I hope he forgets quickly. But Bob Caselli, please stand. Good afternoon. As superintendent of the Sioux Falls School District, I really want to personally welcome each of you for being here today to celebrate this rich history of Washington High School, 100 years of education, and to think that this school is so rooted in our fine city's great past and, of course, planted in its future success. And as I stand here, it is such an honor for me to think of the contributions that each of you, as some staff members, students, former and current, administrators from the past and today, school board members and community members, what everyone has contributed to the foundation of what Washington High School has been and is to be, and especially for the 20,000 students the district serves today. Washington High truly holds a special place in each of our hearts, I'm certain, as we sit here today. And I, like all of you, have very fond memories of my time as a warrior. And as I reflected upon that, I couldn't help but recall my experience in chemistry class. Because what I realized is I was, back then, the liability risk who is every superintendent's worst nightmare today. From breaking the water line in the chemistry lab, causing a geyser of water to shoot to the ceiling, to starting my lab partner's hair on fire. Of course, it was her hair that got in the way of my burner, but that was the problem. And during my high school years and for the years to follow, every time Mr. Willis, who was our beloved chemistry teacher, would see me, he'd look at me and shake his head and say, "Oh, Pammy Jo, you are a fright." As Jamie indicated, Washington's High True Beginning began on February 14th, 1908. And of course, it started with Sioux Falls High School, and the name was changed to Washington High School. And what I thought was, what was school like back then? What was school life like 100 years ago as it is compared to today, 100 years later? And I think you'll be interested to find out that there were many similarities. And so I thought I'd share a few of those with you today. At the turn of the century, the mission of the Sioux Falls School District was to prepare children for the world of work. Our mission today, 100 years later, is somewhat similar: to educate and prepare each student to succeed in a changing world. In 1908, teachers were held in high regard in the community, and they earned $60 a month. They were elected by the school board, and in order to be a teaching candidate, the board said they must be a high school graduate and have 4 years practical experience as a teacher. If the candidate was a graduate from what was considered a normal school or a teacher's college, they needed 2 years experience. If they graduated from a traditional college, the board agreed 1 year experience was enough. While experience isn't a requirement of our teachers today prior to our hiring them, they certainly must have a 4-year degree and be highly qualified in the subject area they teach. In 1908, believe it or not, if a female teacher became pregnant, even if she was married, she was immediately released from her duties for 1 year. Records show several women were granted leaves of absence for the very reason they chose the profession, the love of children. Today, we celebrate the arrival of babies among our staff because we know those precious babies will someday be our valued students. In 1908, Washington High School employed 1 full-time custodian, and he made $40 a month. And there was a part-time custodian who made $15 a month. Today, you need to know that when you walk into this building and it's in immaculate condition, we have a team of 15 custodians who serve us in keeping this building in the condition it is. And they begin work at 5 a.m., and the last custodian turns off the lights at midnight each night. Furnishing the school in 1908 carried a hefty price tag in those days, although it looks like a real bargain to us today. A teacher's desk, $6. Students' chairs were $1.25. A chair alone was $1. School clocks sold for $2, and there was a company in town called Benedict and Wilkinson who had the contract to clean all of the school clocks for 50 cents apiece. And then, of course, the school bought a piano for $150. Now compare that with when this building opened in 1992, our school board paid $1.3 million to furnish it with its desk and its chairs and its latest technology. The community and our commitment to fine and performing arts dates back to 1908 when 11 instrumentalists formed the first band for the city's high school. And today, as we got to witness in the opening of this group, Washington High's program is live and strong with 186 students that perform through various avenues of jazz band, concert band, marching band, and of course the pep band. And I thought about this for the students today. Corey and crew. In 1908, when the Board of Education adopted the first set of rules for discipline. Prior to that, a rules committee studied the issue for several months, but on paper didn't seem to be making much progress, and I thought, some things really don't change. Then, on February 28, 1908, school board minutes reflect that the principal at the time, Mr. Wilkinson, was quite upset and very frustrated by student behavior. And so he went forward to the board and he'd asked that they would simply show some support to him. So the school board passed a resolution, and it said, whereas the principal of the high school has suggested to the Board of Education that the impression prevails among the pupils of Washington High School that the Board of Education is not sustaining him in his discipline, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education will fully sustain and uphold the principal of the high school and the discipline of the school, and will take prompt and efficient action to punish any violation of the rules of the school. And certainly, while the current discipline policy looks a little different than the one drafted a century ago, the core tenets are still the same. Respect for self and respect for others simply never go out of style. The graduating class of 1908 had 49 students in it, and in March of that year, the school board voted to give the senior class $350 toward their graduating expenses. Records show admission was charged to the commencement ceremony, with the proceeds going to the library fund. This May, approximately 450 students will graduate from Washington High School, and even though we could use money to buy more books in the library, you'll be happy to know that we will not be charging you admission to commencement. However, sorry seniors, there's no money in the budget to give you a little extra for your senior party. And so, in closing, as superintendent of the Sioux Falls School District, I am so honored to participate in this 100th anniversary of Washington High School. And as we look back on that century of education that this school has provided to us, let us remember that educational foundation that the visionaries of the time laid for us so that our students could have the success they've had of the past, today, and tomorrow. And let us look forward to the next 100 years with excitement and pride. Because truly, once a warrior, always a warrior, and go forth with that warrior pride.
At this time, I would like to introduce the mayor of the city of Sioux Falls, Mayor Dave Munson. Dave Munson is a 1960 graduate of Washington High School. He coached and taught at Washington High School during the 1960s and 70s. His wife, Linda, is currently a teacher at Washington High School. Mayor Munson's roots have grown deep at Washington High School. Please welcome a Warrior graduate, Mayor Dave Munson.
Thank you, and it is indeed truly a pleasure to be here today and to talk to you a little bit about reminiscing back to what I remember in my days at Washington High School, because I really have had the privilege of not only being a student there, but also teaching and coaching at Washington High School. And the one thing I really refuse to talk about today is my academic career at Washington High School. That will not be talked about at all by me or anyone else, and that's understood. No, but I go back and think of the rich heritage that Washington High School had. We talk about 1908, and we talk about when the beginning of Washington High happened, and I go back and I start out in probably the 50s. And I started out as a young boy growing up and going to Hawthorne Grade School, and I can remember how I looked forward as a young person to Washington High School. I can remember when I was running over to Harwood Field when it was over where Sears was, that in the old place right across from the viaduct, to watch what great Washington High football teams play, and the pride that swelled up within me. And I would go home at night, and when they were on the road, and I'd sit in the kitchen in their house, and we had one radio in the house, and I'd sit in the kitchen, and I would listen to those football games that Washington High School had, just breathlessly wondering and nervous about the outcome. But it is something that I look back and cherish of the caring and what Washington High really means, the pride that I still have today. It was downtown. Today it's moved to the east side of town where we're at today in this magnificent building, but it doesn't change. We're still Washington Warriors.
Please welcome Bob Caselli to the podium at this time. Bob Caselli served as the principal at Washington High School from 1976 to 1988. He currently works with the Washington High School Historical Committee. The Washington Historical Committee has worked hard to maintain the history of Washington High School and includes the Alumni Hall as one of their achievements. Members of the Washington Historical Committee have graciously gifted a memorial rock that will mark this time in history as we celebrate 100 years of Warrior Pride. The memorial rock will be located at the front entrance of Washington High School near the current George Mickelson Memorial Rock. We now welcome Bob Caselli for a few words on behalf of the Washington Historical Committee.
Thank you. I wish I could speak as a former principal. That would be at my topic. That would open the door to a lot of stories, ladies and gentlemen. Just one comment, though, my tenure as principal, I had the great honor of working with people like you in the audience and staff and maintenance people, school board members, young people. When I retired, I remember when the TV station asked, about the tough job I had, and I'd be glad to leave. I said, I had the best job in Sioux Falls in South Dakota, and I really meant that. The roads are bumpy sometimes, but the staff and the kids and the boards and the parents were just supported. They knew what they had going for them, and they appreciated it, and so did I. So it's with pride that the Historic Committee, that one of our chores is to keep this history alive. We want to thank the students. I was impressed at the first meeting. When I came to, I walked in the meeting here in the principal's office, and half the committee were young people that were here. I'm always happy to be involved with meetings where young people are asked to help with some of the decision making. And so I appreciate and compliment the young people who really got behind us and had a great week, and looking forward to the rest of today. But thank you for coming out. Thank you for our Historic Committee.
I'd like to thank the two students that are up here that were doing introductions today. Parker Hansen is one of the students here, and Parker's the first one with the red tie on. Corey Backer is the second individual student here. These are two students that are on our student council and have helped immensely with the planning for the students of this last week and this week to come here. And a lot of the activities will be going on there. They'll be presenting some skits and different things at the assembly that we have, and a couple different things at that event. So greatly appreciate their help in this whole process. In closing today, there's one more thing that I would like to go through and read for you. This is one artifact that was over at the Washington Pavilion earlier today. But I will read this for you and go through and give a little bit of information on this. This is a forerunner to the high school newspaper that was the High School Lyre in 1895. This was published and distributed by a group of 4 girls who would sell them on street corners and at train stations. Susan B. Anthony, who most of you would know, read a copy of the Lyre when she traveled through South Dakota on her speaking tours. And this is the letter she wrote to those girls at Washington High School, at that time Sioux Falls Central. To the High School Lyre, recently while on my lecturing tours, I incidentally purchased one of your papers from the newsboy on the train, and upon pursuing its contents was surprised to find that a periodical of such excellence was managed entirely by young ladies. I have long felt that the work of editing a newspaper is properly in woman's sphere, and that her finer instincts and more delicate intellectual reasonings would cause her to far outshine the sterner sex. For what woman but is righteously indignant at scanning the contents of the average newspaper? I behold in you and others of like purpose the greatest benefactors of the human race, for those who have hitherto sought in vain, but now turn to your paper with the blessed assurance that here they will find the highway to the greatest political and financial prosperity. You have the opportunity through the columns of the Lyre to erase the false impression that woman is out of her proper sphere if she is to venture from the solitude of her quiet home and endeavor to demonstrate her equality, nay, her superiority to the lords of creation. Then be patient when you are sorely tried, for you will be tried, and think out the glory that will accrue to your names when your noble work is ended. My girls, you have caused this worn out heart of rejoice. May you have the success what has been denied me. Remember, henceforth, that you have the sincere sympathy of Susan B. Anthony. I read that just to recollect a few things from the past and some of the things that have occurred in the past, but also to look to the future. Washington High School, and the strength of Washington High School is the diversity here that is at our building. This high school represents over 40 different countries, which students have come here directly from to be here at our school. We are a school of great diversity, and that is the strength of Washington High School. So as we go forward and celebrate the next 100 years, we will continue to grow in that diversity, and that education is for all people, men, women, whatever heritage or background you have. So as we go forward and celebrate the next 100 years of Washington High School, I greatly appreciate you being in attendance with us here today.
That is all for this month's edition of the School Zone. Join us the fourth week of every month during the school year for a new edition of the School Zone. Good night.
KLRN programming is made possible in part by Sanford Children's.